Hi, I'm James from Chaosium. I sat down with John Wick, the creative director for 7th Sea, and we talked about player bases. Specifically, we talked about the role that player bases play in 7th Sea and why they're usually boats. It is a pirate game after all. I started off the interview by asking John what exactly is a player base. I'm going to jump across to that interview in just a moment, but first, remember to subscribe to the Chaosium YouTube channel, and thanks for watching.
Well, a player base is I was first introduced to the idea of a player base in Pendragon, which was either my second or third role-playing game, I can't remember. But in Pendragon, your knight's estate is really super important. It provides you income, it provides you safety, it provides you all kinds of benefits. If you build certain things in your knight's estate, they give you in-character benefits. And that was something that really inspired me, the idea of not just that I have a castle with a moat, but I have a castle I have a castle with a beehive, and I have a castle with with other things that just don't provide protection, but also give me bonuses during the game. And that was what really appealed to me as both a GM and a player, was that your base is almost like the fifth Beatle. It's the thing that allows you to do the things that you want to do by providing you, all the things that a base provides: income, security, and all the rest of it. So inspired by the idea of a knightly estate in Pendragon, I took a lot of those same mechanics and brought them into 7th Sea, except manifested them as ships. And why ships? Because it's a swashbuckling game and everyone loves pirates. That's pretty much it. It is the golden age of sail, and despite and I think that there's two kinds of people who love ships and people who don't know why ships are awesome. They just haven't been shown yet, right? But the same kind of, like in America, the same kind of loving care that we give to cars, because the car is this huge symbol in American culture of freedom, right? Well, ships beat them to the punch, and they are still even in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they talk about a ship isn't what it is, it's what it represents. And that's freedom, the freedom to go anywhere and to live anywhere. And whenever you're tired of living a place, you just jump in the ship and go somewhere else. There's always another port. And I think it's that freedom that really makes ships cool.
Why is having a ship more exciting than having a land-based base?
So while having a land-based base is fun, having a ship is more like having another character. Ships have names, ships have character among, and once you've been on more than one ship, you really do feel the character of each ship, the way that it moves, the way that it turns, and everything else. Just like cars, when you inherit somebody else's car, it says you inherit somebody else's problems, right? But the same thing is true about ships. Ships have history. They have names carved into the wood of people who served and possibly died on the ship. And sailors and ships have a relationship that is unique, in that the ship has history, you come on the ship, you become part of that ship's history, and then you leave the ship and someone else comes on and you're part of that legacy. And giving what I think one of the most important things in 7th Sea that we did was that we made the mechanics of the ship just like the mechanics of a character. It is another character in the game that helps you using the game's helping rules. Like if you're doing something and I say, I try to help him and there's a bonus. Well, the ship does that. The ship helps you, which furthers the idea that the ship is a character and is something that, what I've said from all the way back when I started writing Play Dirty articles, which was the key to good game mastering is find something that the players love and put it in peril. And the ship, protects you, provides you income, all those other things. But also there are times when the ship is in peril. And if you can make players fall in love with the ship, then you got it.
That's a great answer. And I want to dive more into that emotional attachment to a ship and to a base. But I also want to ask some mechanical questions. You alluded to some of the mechanics around how ships and bases work. I've played TTRPGs where the base mechanics are kind of separate from everything, and maybe they're prohibitively expensive based on character resources, which you expect your PCs to develop, and it's quite hard to grow a base within the mechanics of the game. How does 7th Sea support developing your ship, growing your ship, things like that?
Well, acquiring a ship in 7th Sea is a 2-point advantage, and that's cheap. It's like, and in some cases, when you take a background like Sea Captain, you get a ship because I want people to have them, right? And the way you get people to have a ship is, number one, you just give it to them, and the other one is you make it cheap. So if somebody else wants a ship, and the way that the Married to the Sea advantage works is that one person gets a ship for that 2-point advantage, and then somebody else can take Married to the Sea, and that makes the ship, they can either have their own ship or they can invest that advantage into the same ship and make it cooler. And then a third player goes, well, I want the ship to be cool too. So they invest 2 points into it, and now it's even cooler. And that's essentially how the game encourages people to invest in a ship. Now, like I said, the way that ships work in the game is that if you're firing the cannons of a ship, it's a wits plus aim risk. It's the wits trait and the aim skill. But the ship gives you bonus dice because the ship is helping you. So when you roll, you're not just rolling 5 dice. You're, depending on the ship, you may be rolling 8 dice or 10 dice because of the ship's cannons. And in the same way, in the Pirate Nations book, the Pirate Nations expansion, we added a couple new rules for ships. And one of those was, for example, the charter mechanic, because pirates use magic charters that they sign with blood. Because historically, pirate ships had a charter, which was kind of like a constitution. It was a list of rules for the ship, which, by the way, as a side note, included health insurance. Pirates invented health insurance because if you got a finger blown off during when you're on the ship, part of the charter was if you get a limb or a finger or a toe or a thing broken off, you get this much more money when we take money. So pirates invented health insurance, for better or worse. But the other part of it is that the charter demands a certain behavior from its crew. And when you follow the charter's listed behavior, you get bonuses. And when you go against the charter's behavior, there are penalties because the charter is, your name is on that, signed in blood. So you're in for the long haul. And then there's other things too. The ships have advantages that the players can take advantage of, and to use that's not even a pun, but anyway, but there's other mechanics that the ship becomes a common pool of bonus dice and advantages and other things that empower the players. And so the players are not only sentimentally attached to the ship, they don't have a sentimental attachment to it. They also we don't want to lose the ship because it gives us all these advantages. And so both of those ways of giving the ship nuance and character and all that, and a name, just giving something a name, creates a bond between human beings and inanimate objects. So just giving it a name, but then there's all those mechanics on the back end that come in and help the players too.
What happens if you don't really know about boats? Maybe you've never been on one. How does 7th Sea handle that?
Well, we don't demand you read all the Patrick O'Brian novels, for example. That's not necessary at all. As a matter of fact, the ship rules are very non-nautical jargon based. And it's the same. I'm going to invoke Pendragon again. I was going to run Pendragon for friends, and they said, we don't know anything about King Arthur. And I was like, do you know who King Arthur is? Do you know what Excalibur is? Do you know who Guinevere is? Do you know who Lancelot is? Do you know who Merlin is? You know more about Pendragon than you think. And in the same way, people know more about ships than they think. They know about Avast, they know about Ahoy, they know about Port, they know about Starboard. They know, they know about, and then all cannons. If I say go down to the cannon deck, well, clearly that is where the cannons are. If I say go down into the hold of the ship, people are like, oh, well, the hold is where you keep things. Yeah. Go to the captain's quarters, and things like that. So a lot of ship jargon is actually in our common parlance, but we don't overload you with that. You don't need to know almost anything about ships to use the system, because I want to encourage players to use the system and not discourage them with, okay, here's your 500-page exam on how a ship works. But if you want to dive into it, frankly, a role-playing game book isn't the place for that. If you want to dive into deep ship lore, there are tons of really good books that you can get, and you can go around, start throwing your sailor slang around the ship, and it adds color and flavor, and that's great.
Let's say that I'm a 7th C GM and I'm jumping in and I want to give my players a ship and get them up to all kinds of exciting adventures. Do you have any easy advice that you can give, the benefit of your experience, to point people in a direction that they might not have considered or thought of to create an exciting scenario for their players?
It's something that a lot of people ask me. They're like, what do you do on a ship? Right? Where's the adventure of being on a ship? Well, the first thing I would recommend you do is watch the Master and Commander movie, because it is one of the most, I think, the most authentic nautical, ship movie ever. And there are scenes in that movie that still give me chills, still put things up and down my spine. The scene where the young midshipman is in his first attack. The ship is being attacked and things are exploding everywhere. And he looks down and there's this old, crusty, gray-haired, wrinkled sailor, and he's holding onto a rope, and on his knuckles are the words, "Hold fast." And he's looking up at him. And I was like, oh, that's so good. But also, that movie is a really great source, but so are the Patrick O'Brian novels. The Patrick O'Brian novels are fun, they're adventuresome, they're witty, they're kind of glib, actually, and they're fun to read. But also remember the primary GM rule, which is make the players fall in love with something and then put it in peril. Ships can be captured by other nations. If you're a pirate ship, your ship can be captured, taken away from you, and now you got to go get it. Oh, that's just the plot of Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, with undead pirates in it, right? But that's the plot. Captain Jack Sparrow wants his ship back, right? The other one is exploration. You go off and you find an island where strange things are happening, and the ship allows you to go to places that are not available on mainland Thea. You can go to the Aragosta Sea. You can go to over to the new world that's been discovered and things like that, and open up the world of 7th Sea from the magical Europe to magical China and magical Mesoamerica and all those things. So again, a ship really represents freedom, and that's something to pound hard into players.
Do you have any advice for players who might start playing with a fleet or with multiple ships?
Oh yeah, you can have yourself a Commodore who is in charge of captains. And again, the whole thing about nautical adventure is that, and I've been here before, I've been in this place before, where you're out in the middle of the ocean and all there is ocean. That's it. There is no land to swim to. There is the, and among sailors, there's a sailor superstition is don't learn to swim, because if you learn to swim, you'll need to do it. Right. And so there are, and every ship, this is really important, is that every ship is its own nation. And that's why the book is called The Pirate Nations, because it has its own constitution. It has its own, it's pirate ships are democracies where pirates would vote on everything. They would vote on whether they're going to take that ship. They're going to vote on they voted on everything. And because pirates invented democracy, but the pirates, if you talk to me long enough, pirates invented everything. So just so you know, but and so for first time players, with multiple ships, you have, firepower to literally change the world. There's a reason that the golden age of sail, and sailing ships was so important, is because a fleet of ships could roll up and just make demands. And clearly that's what a villain would do. But a fleet of ships could roll up with heroes and liberate a slave island, right? Or could, and so you really are the power in the world. You can prevent villains from getting supplies. You can rescue, roll up and send out a bunch of pirates to rescue people from prisons, all that kind of stuff. So ship adventures don't always happen on the ship, but the ship provides adventure. It provides you the key, the skeleton key to, to go somewhere and cause change.
Here's a little bit of a odd question, or at least one
Sure.
that doesn't relate to 7th Sea directly. But do you have advice for players who are going to involve ships and involve, nautical adventure in their games if they're not playing 7th Sea, if they're playing another TTRPG?
Yeah, it's essentially, it depends really on how much focus do you want to put on certain things. For example, if you're playing a game, if you're playing let's say a fantasy role-playing game whose name I won't mention, but whose initials are D&D, you could have really robust mechanics for the ship, or you could not. You're like, the GM is like, you know what, we can have ship battles, but they're really not important to the plot. But I want to use the ship to go, from, because we have this big map that has seas, and I want to go from here to here to here to here. Or you can have very simple mechanics, like something as complicated as sitting down with a king and trying to negotiate, the release of a political prisoner. Really boils down to a diplomacy roll, one roll, and that dictates somebody's life, their fate, right? Well, why not have a ship battle be one roll? You roll 1d20, they roll 1d20, whoever, wins the battle, and then you have to, negotiate surrender, right? Get to the good part. The good part is actually negotiating surrender. So, it all depends on what you think is interesting. If you don't like big elaborate, movement ship, where we're crossing the T and, and all that kind of stuff, if you don't like that and you don't want to focus on it, just don't do it. And if your players don't like it, you should absolutely not do it, right? But if your players like exploration, using the ship on a big exploration map that, unlocks things when you approach it and you get within sight of it, then totally do that. How fast is the ship going? How far can we go and all that? Find the things that you and your players are excited about and use rules for those. But for the things that you're like, oh, this is just drudgery, make it a die roll and just skip it.
There's so much cool information here about how you can make ships exciting in your games. Is there anything I didn't ask? Any final points that you want to make?
Oh, having been on ships, on real wooden ships, as a cast member on an actual floating ship with sails and everything like that. I will tell you that there is nothing in the world as awesome as being on a ship with the sea spray and the sails and the wind and 300 people all singing a call and response sea shanty. There is nothing like it in the world. It makes you just, oh, it really gets under your skin, and it's addictive. And I recommend everybody find a way to participate in that activity, because it will make you fall in love with ships like nothing else.